So Alyn, over the past 2 weeks, the OEWG has been in session, and how do you feel the process has been moving?
Well, one of the really positive things to see coming out of this is that a large number of the non-nuclear states are now deciding that they should take action themselves, rather than just calling on the nuclear weapon states to do things, to take steps or make measures on nuclear disarmament. They're saying, we want to do something. Now, many already have by establishing nuclear weapon-free zones. So there's the idea of doing something similar, a global nuclear weapon-free zone. It won't be global, of course. It'll be those states who agree to sign on to a nuclear ban treaty. But it's good that there's that energy in the room and amongst the non-nuclear states. There is still a lot of resistance to nuclear disarmament from the nuclear allied states, those relying on nuclear weapons, and the nuclear weapon states weren't even in the room. But it was actually very good that there was dialogue here about what role do these nuclear weapons actually play. We understand it's a dangerous world, including conflicts between nuclear-armed states, but do the nuclear weapons actually provide security, or are there better ways of dealing with these issues? So that discussion that the nuclear allied states were participating in was actually very, very important, and I think that opens the door to maybe some better solutions further down the track.
Mm-hmm. And the ban treaty is one option to be an outcome of this OEWG. Mm-hmm. What are the options?
Yeah, well, what a ban treaty can do would consolidate those that don't have nuclear weapons, make even stronger prohibition amongst themselves, which is a good move. But it doesn't bring in the other states, the allied states or the nuclear-armed states. So other options that were being put forward were things like what they call a building blocks or progressive approach. But most of those sort of relied on the nuclear weapon states having to do things that they're not yet prepared to do. So that was looking very difficult. One other option, though, which was starting to be explored here, is something called a framework agreement. And this is, for example, in the climate change area, we have the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. That has been very, very useful because it's brought in all the countries, carbon emitters, in the issue. In the beginning, it was quite weak, very weak aspirations. But because they were all in there, the political pressure could be put on them. And so by the time it came to Paris, last year, we got very strong commitments out of this framework convention. So there's some saying perhaps a framework agreement might be the best way of providing a flexible approach. We have those countries who are ready to take the much stronger measures, could do that, but other ones would still be in the discussion, and there'd be pressure on them to take next steps.
Okay. And specifically regarding an outcome such as the ban treaty, how would that directly affect the nuclear-armed states?
Well, a ban treaty only applies to those who sign on to it. So if nuclear-armed states don't sign on to it, it doesn't apply to them. It may, create some political impetus because here are a group of states taking a big step, so there's media attention, there's political attention. But if the nuclear-armed states and their allies decide to stay out, there is no legal obligation on them whatsoever. That's where a framework agreement would be different. There would be at least political obligations and maybe legal obligations, but you'd have to get them on board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.